Okay, I want to talk about Avowed, the only game I've been playing for a week or so now. Normally, I don't make content that is like an update to my first impressions review. I'm content to just, in the Geek Week segment of the Christian Geek Central podcast, keep you guys updated on how I'm feeling about games as I continue playing through them. So, this is a bit of a departure to basically take some notes and organize my thoughts a little bit in advance and really gonna kind of give some updated thoughts about a game. But I'm waiting, as many people are, for the Oblivion Remake, which is supposed to be coming very soon this month, as I record this anyway. And I think coming back to Avowed after I finished Pillars of Eternity Deadfire in preparation, of course I had Oblivion on the mind all the more, comparisons, things like that. I think in some ways Avowed was treated unfairly by some YouTube, some content creators, things like that, because of comparisons to Oblivion and Skyrim, which I don't think the game really told us to expect. I don't even know that the developers ever said that. I think just in that first reveal, we got the impression, oh, looks a lot like Skyrim, and these Obsidian has made some Bethesda stuff in the past. That must be what they're doing now, you know. So that's understandable, but I think the devs said a number of times, yeah, don't think Skyrim, think more, Outer Worlds or something like that. So, but I want to give my updated thoughts. It's still hard not to make comparisons, of course, because there's not that many first-person, open-ish world fantasy RPGs, and so it's very natural to kind of find yourself thinking about Oblivion and Skyrim. Anyway, so in the context of waiting for that Oblivion remake, knowing I'm going to drop everything when it comes, and being a little disappointed that the first date that it was supposed to maybe come at, it didn't, and so we're waiting longer. A bit disappointed, challenging my sense of contentment. But man, the more I play Avowed, the more I think I'm going to be just fine. I'm close to 50 hours into Avowed now. According to walkthrough outlines that I glanced at this morning, of the main quest titles, I'm still just a little over halfway, almost 50 hours in, and just a little over halfway. So that was cool to know that I've probably got a good amount left. You can look at my first impressions review to kind of get my base thoughts. I'm going to try not to repeat myself too much unless I feel like I have some things to update. But let's just kind of settle in. I'm going to get into some details here. First, with the dialogue and the story. This is the part of it that is least like Oblivion and Skyrim, the part that is easiest to criticize when comparing to those things. I think there's even criticism that can be made comparing it to the Outer Worlds. I feel like there was more diverse role-playing opportunities in the Outer Worlds at this point, especially the deeper I get into the game. I feel like my dialogue choices are kind of thinning out. As far as like the side quests and the companion quests, all of those I'm finding pretty uninteresting. Speaking specifically for a moment, from a Christian biblical perspective, the blue guy companion that you have, that I wasn't thrilled about anyway, because it felt like they were using the voice actor and trying to appeal to my nostalgia. I talk about that in my first impressions anyway. But he's got this companion quest that really kind of locks you, if you go on that quest, into a conversation where he's sharing like his romantic feelings about his lost lover, and it's a gay relationship that he's talking about. And it doesn't really give me an opportunity to, I'm not wanting an opportunity to express disapproval, like moral disapproval, even though I don't think that lines up with God's intention for sexuality, and I've made content about that other times, so I'm not going to talk about that here, but livingout.org is a great place you can go that represents my thoughts on that. And if you want to search on my YouTube channel, just put Living Out. That's an introduction to that channel. That'll give you an idea of where I'm coming from as well on those issues. But anyway, you're kind of locked into a conversation where, like I said, I don't feel the need to express moral disapproval or anything like that, or try to, shepherd him in any kind of way on that front. But I do have to continue engaging as though I care about the conversation. There are no conversation options that allow me to say, I don't care about your personal life. Shut up, I don't care. Which I'm playing as Elderast, my bitter old wizard who doesn't care about anybody. He goes on these kinds of quests just because he knows somehow there's going to be something in it for him. And so Elderast would want to say the same thing if someone was wistfully talking about their heterosexual romance in the past too. I don't care. Shut it. Is what I want to say. But no, you don't get that opportunity. You know, all of the dialogue options are at least in some way invested in caring about what this guy's past is and what he's feeling wistful or whatever about. As I have continued to play through the game, I've increasingly felt a lack of evil/mean/grumpy options. And even at this point, especially in like the last 5 to 10 hours, some of the dialogue choices, quote unquote, that you get, it's like they're saying the same thing 3 different ways. I'm like, what is going on here? Oh, man. So, like early on, I was already feeling a step down from Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2 in terms of dialogue choices. I expected that to some degree because of the type of game that this is compared to, you know, those other types. But even so, I was, you know, a little disappointed by the step down. Now at this point in the game, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just expecting that I'm going to get this false sense of choice in dialogue. You also can't attack anyone until they are hostile towards you, or at least suspicious towards you, and their little meter starts filling up that indicates they're about to attack you. If I'm approaching a dialogue with someone and I know this quest line is like, go kill this person, then I do not want to have to start dialogue with them in order to kill them. If the mission is kill them, then I should be able to start sniping them as far as my ranged weapon or spells will allow me. But there was at least one instance where it's like, you can't do that. And so that is frustrating from a role-playing standpoint as well. And so from a dialogue choice, role-play standpoint, this is where I would say this is not at all going to scratch an itch for people that love those aspects of Oblivion and Skyrim and other Bethesda RPGs. Seeing that more and more as I go through. And I'm going to harp on this a little bit more, but I have things I'm loving about this game that I'm going to get to. I find the dialogue uninteresting. I find it cliche. It feels like it's just kind of filling time. It's like, well, this is a quest, and you interact with people, and so we know that there needs to be some dialogue, and so we're going to put some dialogue in here. But it's not interesting to me. But I mean, that's how I feel about most fantasy RPGs. I need to say that. The side quest dialogues, I especially try to blaze through. I've rarely let a voice actor finish their performance of a line before I'm finished reading it and I advance to the next thing. So they are being interrupted all the time, and they're interrupting themselves as they continue their own dialogue. But the main story in general also lacks the personal stakes that I'm really interested in. You're working for an emperor, so your character is not exactly a blank slate. You're working for the emperor, you've got fungus face because you're one of these things called a godlike, and even though they allow you to make those godlike features invisible, everyone still treats you like you have fungus face. So the character creation, and from a conceptual level, really limiting, and I think I already mentioned that in my first impressions. But you're working for an emperor, or you're dealing with being a godlike, which I actually try to ignore that part of my character's story. Now, maybe that's unfair of me, and I shouldn't expect that. And I don't really. I accept, okay, this is the journey they want me to be on. Nevertheless, I don't care about that part of my character. I'm not really interested in leaning into that. Every chance I get, because it's so much more rare than you might think, I want to play as Elderast, my bitter old wizard. And this game lets me be a full-on mage in a way that I love, by the way. Stick around, I'm going to get to that. So anyway, yeah, there's recurring scenes also with this mysterious voice in your head that talks to me like poetically and figuratively and metaphorically or something. And I'm very tired of it. I got tired of it really fast. But hey, at least it usually gives me opportunity to express that. Like, quit bothering me! I'm tired of hearing your voice. Can we get this over with? But I mean, that doesn't help. That helps me vent a little bit of my frustration through my character Elderast, who was also frustrated, but it doesn't make me want to race through those things any less. The story just in general is not working for me. But that's not really a complaint. The story itself, it's the dialogue and the roleplay options, moment to moment, that I really wish had more variety and choice in them. So that's my big negative for the game. I'll talk briefly about the visuals. Even on the performance setting of the Xbox Series X, I'm still running into this phenomenon in some dialogue scenes where one or more characters, but not necessarily all of them, this is why it's weird, are animating in like this choppy stop motion animation. It's really weird to look at. And other characters are fluidly being animated. And I don't know what the rhyme or reason is or what's going on that the system is having trouble with or the game is having trouble with. But it's something I've just kind of gotten used to. Thankfully, I'm not really in this at this point for the dialogue, for the story. I'm just blazing through that. So it's just kind of something I'm taking note of as I go along at this point. But I mean, if I was interested in the story, that would be something that would really be pulling me out of it and frustrating me. It's not happening all the time. It's about maybe every fourth or 10th, somewhere around every 5th or 10th, maybe dialogue encounter I have, someone's kind of got some stop motion animation going on that's kind of weird, which is still plenty freaking frequent. But for me personally, I'm not hung up on that. The variety and the uniqueness in the visual environments, I mean, it's great. It's got a great look. It still feels like a traditional fantasy world. I don't like it when they try to get too creative and too off the beaten path. I want it to feel mostly like a D&D-ish fantasy world, and it does, but the whole fungus thing of the godlike and mushrooms and coral growing on land and in unusual places and stuff, and the colors that come along with it, it's interesting. And even though I am very much irritated by the overuse of purple in video games, it's used in moderation here, which I appreciate. And it does add something that's a little bit of a different flavor without like going full on purpley in so many ways. So I'm really happy with the way the world looks, and I like moving through it and exploring it. And exploring it is totally worth it. The exploration is one of the strongest parts of my experience in Avowed. There is all kinds of verticality in environments, and you can usually tell where you can climb, but sometimes you can be surprised, like, could I maybe climb that? Doesn't look like I'm supposed to. And then you get away with it, and it feels really cool because you find just around the corner, there's like this chest. So like, oh my gosh, thinking about the world in terms of can I climb on that? Can I get up that and stuff is very much rewarded. And there's also like treasure you can find around all kinds of corners, and it'll give you this little audio cue, this little shimmering singing kind of that like gets louder as you get closer to it. It operates if you're using surround sound or stereo. It kind of gives you also some hints of like, where is this? A little bit like Nirnroot from Skyrim or Oblivion. And so that's kind of cool too. It's like, oh, I hear something. Okay, where is it? Where is it? And then the search begins. So the exploration is really enjoyable. If something catches your eye in the environment, basically that's a tip-off. Go check it out. If there's a little prop or something lying around, go check it out. Because there might be baddies to fight or treasure to find or some note or something. And that's it. It's also aided by the fact that everything you pick up has some kind of utility. The loot is always valuable because even though I'm constantly picking up stuff that is of no use to me, it can, most of it can be like weapons and armor. Not all types of armor, but your basic, chest armor and your basic weapons. They can all be broken down for components that are going to be useful in some way. Even, later in the game, they can ultimately be crafted up into more useful components. And I mean, it's so that feeling of picking stuff up is like satisfying constantly. I love it. And when your encumbrance gets too much, break things down and the weight just disappears. So, really satisfying. And there's more to pick up than is indicated in the minimap. In my first impressions review, I said, some things are marked on the minimap, and so I feel like I'm looking at the minimap more than I want to. That feeling eventually went away. There's by far the more useful and interesting things are not going to be on your, well, that's not necessarily, sometimes like corpses and veggies that you can pick plants that you can pick or whatever, flowers you can pick. Those are the two main things that are going to show up on your mini-map. But there's plenty of other like bits of loot. Chests don't show up on the mini-map. And so I'm definitely feeling like engaged in sweeping and scanning visually everything around me, feeling very engaged on that level, more so than I was or than I thought I would be in my first few hours. So the exploration is just top notch. Loving it so much. The magic system in the combat, rivals exploration, maybe. Originally, I missed that this game doesn't have a lot of utility spells, or seemingly none. No invisibility spells, no like charisma spells or stealth spells and stuff like that. But the game creates opportunities to use some of your combat spells as utility spells. There are things that you can charge with electricity to get them working. There are grates that you can shatter with a cold spell. There are other things that can be burned away when you use a fire spell. And so it's cool that you have these utility spells without them being really labeled as such. And on top of that, all the old spells that you learn, they get stronger as you do. And so they are still completely relevant deep into the game. And are relevant for more like what shape they are, like if it's like a blasting cone of ice or something, or a cone of flame, or if it has an area of effect or something like that. Those different types of forms, shapes that the spells take, those are very useful in different circumstances. And also your cooldown rotation, because in addition to costing mana, there's a cooldown after you use each spell before you can use it again. So once you get deeper into the game, playing as a full mage, you start getting this list of spells, and there's the 4 that are in your grimoire that you're going to be using most often, and just firing them off, just left trigger A, left trigger X, and the action just keeps going. But you can pause the action and pull up your grimoire in a radial menu to access any of the spells that you've basically unlocked in your tree, in your ability tree. And so once you do that, combat is this cool combination as a mage of firing off those instantly accessible spells, pausing the action, and then it lets you line up your shot and target somebody as you are bringing up and selecting the spell you wanna unleash, and then you hit activate, and it unpauses and it blasts that dude or whatever that was being targeted. And so it's just like you're going so rapidly from one spell to the next, just this flurry, this onslaught of a variety of spells, unlike anything I've ever experienced in an action RPG before. So the magical combat is so much fun, way more fun than Skyrim. I hope at this point as I record this that the Oblivion Remake touches up how you access and trigger spells. This is like the system I want to see in future first-person open world Bethesda style fantasy RPGs or whatever. It's so much magic variety all in a single combat. I'm enjoying this, yes, I'll say it, even more than Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. Because the spell variety in a single combat encounter is unrivaled, and the remaining relevance of your early spells deep into the game is so cool. So this is unrivaled by any action RPG magical combat I've ever experienced. And like when I unleash this barrage of different spells, and then there's the sudden calm after like this spell, then this spell, then this spell, then this spell, and then it's silent as all my foes lie dead at my feet. It's really satisfying. So I really hope. This game has not reportedly been selling well. I think it's been reviewing among those that are more like outlets type of YouTube content. I think they tend to review it more positively. When you look at more of the individual content creators, I think there's a higher percentage, my impression anyway, of those that don't like it or have things that they are critical of. Whatever the reason, it's not been selling well, and I really hope it gets a second chance on PlayStation when it comes to PlayStation, and on just like when it's discounted in future sales. because I would love to get, at this point, an Avowed 2. Even if something about the game really tanks and surprises me and gets unenjoyable going forward from this point into the rest of the game, to have close to 50 hours of gameplay that I've really enjoyed, and the gameplay I've increasingly enjoyed, not the role play and the story side of things, but just the exploring in the world, doing combat in the world, doing stuff in the world. So much fun. So I'd love to get an Avowed 2. That said, I would be bummed to get an Avowed 2 and not get a Pillars of Eternity 3. I do hope they'll return to that style of gameplay in this world, because I really love that type of game, and just all the roleplay stuff that comes with it, all the complexity and depth of its systems and stuff that are not present, in Avowed. So that's kind of where I'm feeling about the my general enjoyment of the game. As far as an update on themes, I was kind of speculating on theological themes they might develop. They don't seem to be developing the theological themes I was seeing hints of in the early hours. I suspect that if they make a statement or play with a theological theme, it's going to be near the end of the game. It seems like that's where things are heading. Like, I got to go to this place and reveal this thing. It seems like that's what they're setting up. There seem to be some themes of colonialism and one culture overtaking another in a way that's clearly bad. But there's no moral complexity or nuance that I'm seeing that would make those themes more interesting for me to wrestle with. So not much to talk about in terms of the themes. But, as a bit of a side topic, I'm wondering if even though this game did have some glaring issues at launch and still does have some of those, I think those certainly must have had a big effect on sales. But I've seen I don't know if it's just the algorithm is just feeding this stuff to me because it can tell I'm a Christian and so thinks you'll be interested in anti-woke if you are a Christian. I don't know. But I feel like the algorithm thinks that I want to watch anti-woke YouTube content about Avowed. And I'm wondering if a lot of other people are seeing those thumbnails and checking them out. Now, sometimes I'll click on that stuff because I'm wondering, I don't like the way the person is expressing themselves, the way that they seem to be motivated to get into this. But I'm always interested in themes and messaging in games, and so I want to get some information on it. That's probably why YouTube has at least continued showing that kind of stuff to me, but. But it is kind of a bummer to watch some of these folks talk about this stuff. I feel like bitterness is maybe like their brand or something. And it reminds me a bit of 80s and 90s TBN fearmongers, the televangelists that got on and said, look at He-Man, Masters of the Universe. This is the devil's work, and we must cast this out of our homes and, whatever. And there's just like this really... that was more about fear, but now I feel like it's more about anger or something. Now, hear me clearly. I'm not saying criticizing entertainment is wrong, but it's the spirit it's often done in that is problematic to me. I think an important question to ask ourselves when taking in content is, does this content increase my frustration or anger with those of an opposing perspective to mine, or does it equip me to dialogue with them effectively? Or even fuel my love and compassion for them. As Christians, that's what we ought to be. That's what we ought to be looking to: is how to have effective dialogue with people and how to feel greater love and compassion for other people. And I don't consider myself blameless in this. I know I've been frustrated by things, and the way I've expressed that has probably fueled or encouraged some anger. I do try to avoid that, and I think I've grown in that certainly in the last 10 years of content creation. But I'm sure some things still slip out that I would look back on and say, that wasn't great, Peter. It's not what I want to be about. And so know that I'm aiming to repeatedly repent of that, repeatedly guard against that. I'm also not saying YouTubers should love Avowed, and if you don't, you're being an angry sinner or something. I'm saying content creators, some of them clearly seem to thrive on expressing this kind of scoffing criticism, anger, or outrage. And some of those who are Christian present this kind of scoffing, criticism, anger, outrage as justified righteous anger in defense of the truth. It may not look like maniacal rage and screaming or what we would think of as a knee-jerk reaction as anger, quote unquote, but unnecessarily cutting words betray the anger or dismissive devaluing of others in our hearts. That's what's at the root of anger, is this, like, it's this othering of someone else, this devaluing of them. We don't defend or uphold truth with the cutting words of anger. Our anger does not produce God's righteousness. Scripture tells us that. Righteousness produces righteousness. Love for those we perceive to be our cultural enemies does that. And there's no incompatibility between expressing truth and being loving and gentle. Otherwise, it would not be commanded that we do both at the same time. 2 Timothy 2:24-26 says, "And the Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but kind to everyone, able to teach." And teach is different from just spouting off and saying what your opinion is. Teaching is helping someone else to learn. And that's what we ought to be aiming for, is not just sounding off, but trying to help someone learn. It goes on to say, patiently enduring evil, correcting his opponents with gentleness. Why? He goes on, God may perhaps grant them repentance leading to a knowledge of the truth, and they may come to their senses and escape from the snare of the devil after being captured by him to do his will. Man, people are trapped, they're enslaved, they are dying. Life is too short, opportunities too few to waste our energy on anger or on content that's designed to fuel it in us. So yeah, I don't know, some of these folks with seemingly bitterness as a brand, they also don't seem like happy people, but I've over the years grown in just kind of liking what I like, even if I'm all by myself in that. Any Zack Snyder fans hear me on that one? And I think, I enjoy the blessings that God allows me and the entertainment that comes my way. I think I enjoy those things a whole lot more when I'm content to live that way. But anyway, so yeah, those are my updated thoughts on Avowed. I don't know if I'll share more when I'm finished with the game or not, but thought I would give you guys that update. And would be interested in hearing what you guys are thinking about Avowed, if you are playing it, or if you're not playing it. Is there a reason that you decided not to? If normally it would be your type of game and there was something about it you heard or saw or that was said about it that just kind of turned you off or whatever. Just like to hear what's on your mind right now about Avowed. Oh, and one more thing I almost forgot. Right now I'd like to take some time to write a tune for pre-made rhyme. The lyrics kind of never change, but the melody gets rearranged. I never know what I'll create to say how much I appreciate Dan Excel, Gabriel Stinson, Olendi Branham, Winston Crutchfield, Libre, Joel Nelson, Jake Berry, John Wilkerson, and Daryl No. Boy, it's a little longer song this month. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you for supporting me and SBP and CGC. And now, to all who hear this tune, thank you as well. Please come back soon. Want to hear your name in song? Then check out our page on Patreon. ChristianGeekCentral.com